What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 506 of Get Paid for Your Pad. And today I have a very special guest. She is one of our Legends X students. She's now in our Rising Star Mastermind. Her name is Jackie Nedin. She's the founder of PHX STAYS. And she's recently started testing out a platform that you may have heard about. It's called Peerspace, where you can rent out your homes for photo shoots and any type of daytime activities. So we're going to dive into that and get Jackie's experience. So Jackie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Super excited to be here. Thanks, Jasper.
Yeah. You shared with me that you listened to almost every episode. So I was really excited to hear that. What do you have like a favorite episode?
Oh gosh, I'm a podcast junkie, but your 500th episode was pretty cool, just to kind of hear the story where you started and actually your consistency. And it always goes back to that. So it was good to hear that again. But yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. Consistency is key for sure. Tell us a little bit about your background. Like, how did you get started with Airbnb?
So we actually have a real estate business here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we work with a lot of investors. We've done flips over the years, dozens of flips. We have a few long-term rentals that we manage and run and own. We came across a property in January of 2020 that we actually sold the property to this client, and he was moving back home out of state. So we thought, this is a good opportunity. It's a mile from our home in Phoenix. So we thought, well, let's just jump on this. It's a 1-bedroom condo, no restrictions as far as HOA goes. So we jumped on that, not really sure if we were going to do short-term rental or long-term rental, but either way, we knew it was going to be a good option. We decided to furnish it, do some upgrades to it, and we actually closed on that property. I think it was January 2020th. And during the escrow process, we were renovating it and updating it. And we had our first booking January 23rd. So we listed it on the 20th, and we had our first booking on the 23rd as a short-term rental. And it all just kind of happened pretty fast. So we had our very first guest that January 23rd, and she was, I couldn't describe a more perfect guest. She left us a gift. She left us a handwritten note about her experience and how nice it was that she was to get away and she was having issues. And it just went on and on. I thought, gosh, if we can touch lives like this is amazing. It just felt so good and it felt right. And then I think, as most people say, it becomes addicting. So that was our very first short-term rental.
And how many do you have right now?
So right now we have 16. We pretty much have a hybrid model. So we own about 6 of our properties, and the rest we manage. And all the ones that we manage are for owners that are out of state that we've helped either with their purchase, and then the design aspect, and now the full management.
Yeah. And we spoke before on the podcast with people who are combining the real estate business with the short-term rental, and it seems like a really good combination. Like, there's a lot of synergy there.
So much, and it's so similar too. Yeah.
Awesome, sweet. So yeah, let's talk about Peerspace, right? Because I've been kind of following what you've been doing, and I noticed you're having some success with it. I think a lot of people right now, they're thinking about, like, hey, what do we do during the slow season, right? When our units aren't as occupied, or what are some other ways that we can monetize our space outside of just Airbnb and the other platforms? So why did you get into Peerspace in the first place?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't know anything about it. And we had a really odd lull in June this past summer. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then, other people were talking about having the same issues, but I happened to get your email actually one day that you sent out about Peerspace. And so I Googled it, and I'm like, I don't really do much research. I kind of just dive in. So I got on the site and I threw one of our listings on there, one of our more luxury listings. And I'm like, we'll see what happens. And it we got booked, and then we got booked and booked and booked. So it was a series of about 5 bookings consecutively. And then I had to kind of back up and realize, wait, what's going on? What are we supposed to be doing here? But yeah, we were just trying to fill those gaps. We had some gaps in there for the month, and just trying to be creative, and knew that there was a way we needed to pivot. We needed to pivot quick. So I think just jumping on Peerspace, it's we were able to supplement, I want to say $6,000 that month through Peerspace for just the one property. So we tested that one property out and thought we would put a couple others on there and see what happened. And definitely found that there's a niche. There's a niche for certain properties. Not every property is going to be a good fit for it. And so we backed out the other 2, and we just keep the one that's a little bit more of a luxury property on there. And we're using that right now to fill the gaps during the week. We're not necessarily using it on weekends because our season's starting to pick up again. So we'll try to manage, if we have an opening and if it does work, we'll definitely continue on with that.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about what kind of, what is Peerspace like? What kind of, what are people doing when they book your place? So like, is it for like a photo shoot or something, or? Yeah,
so we've had an array of things. We've had photo shoots, we've had commercials, videos. We actually have an engagement party. It's really all kinds of things. And a lot of the commercials are done in 2 parts. So they'll have it for an entire day, and then they'll do the second part the next day or a couple of days later. So they do it in 2 separate parts. So that's full day's worth of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And what are some of the differences? Like, when people are listening to this and they might be contemplating like, hey, is this something for me? Like, what are some things that we have to think about? You already mentioned like, hey, this is, this works for certain homes. Is it mostly, you think, the luxury homes that people are looking for on the platform?
Not necessarily luxury homes. I think, I've had some people ask me, what is it about this house? And my first instinct is it's design, and it's having something that's unique for what they're looking for. So we had a culinary commercial that they were videoing, doing a video shoot for, and they're just using all the high-end kitchen appliances, and there's a big open space, so they had room for the crew to shoot. So I think that's drawn people in. We do have a incredible master suite in this bedroom, in this listing, where it's a super large master bedroom with a fireplace. On the other side of the fireplace is a work area, so designated work area with a desk and the fireplace on the other side, and then a huge luxury master bath. So I think that has drawn people in for doing work events. If they're trying to do a video shoot of somebody working, a bathroom has drawn people in for video shoots, showers. It's all kinds of stuff.
What's like the difference, between like Airbnb and Peerspace, other than that, it's not overnight, right? So the guests are coming during the day. They rent it for a certain amount of hours, or can they rent it just for half a day or a full day? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's not an overnight. Peerspace is purely a daily booking platform. It's an hourly rate. And at first we had a 2-hour minimum, and then we have added a 3-hour minimum. And the difference is, obviously the cleaning is not as, and it depends on the type of booking. There are several different options that somebody can book on Peerspace. They can do a meeting, they could do an event, video shoot or photo shoot. Typically with the photo shoots and the meetings, they're really just using like the long dining room table. They're not going in the bedrooms. So the cleaning is a whole lot lighter in most cases. Yeah, it all depends on their event. I mean, if they're having an event, like we have an engagement party coming up, that will require, a bigger cleaning fee and a lot more back end work.
Yeah. How does your how does the rate compare to the nightly rate that you're charging on Peerspace? Because you're charging per hour.
Right. So this property in particular does really well in the peak season. But right now in summer, our average, our 80 hours, I want to say 350 per night. Peerspace, we are charging 200 an hour with a $200 to $300 cleaning fee. And then for events, we're up to, I think, $275 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're almost charging as much per hour as a overnight.
Literally, yeah.
Wow. That's really interesting.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a photographer and asked her about it. I'm like, is this something that you guys do? I mean, tell me what kind of spaces you're looking for as a photographer. And it's just interesting to hear her say, there's nothing like this. We don't have our own studios that we can, afford to have a lease on ourselves. So if we do have a shoot, it's a perfect place for us to just, a couple hours and get in as many photo shoots as possible. So I think the demand is there. I guess that was shocking for me to hear her say that they really don't have anywhere to go. So this is new for them and they're loving it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes sense. I guess, is it easier to deal with daytime guests than overnights? Is there a big difference or no?
I think there is. I think there is. I think it's just been a super easy process, all of it. We talk to the guests before they come, discuss, what they're looking to do, what equipment they need, what space they need. We have never had an issue with a guest or something. It's very different. It's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can imagine, like, if you're dealing with a professional company that's doing a photo shoot and they're paying like, $200-$300 an hour, I can imagine like it's nice to work with professionals.
It's incredible. Yeah. Yeah. We actually had a surgeon do a video for it was a commercial, a local surgeon, and he had all his crew with them. And I guess because they did spend so much money, it just seems like everybody's super respectful of your space. They'll come there for a professional meeting, or if it's like you said, a business or a corporation, and they just seem to be super respectful.
And they're not using the beds, right? So you don't have to do a lot of laundry. So I imagine the cleaning is easier too.
Cleaning is, for the most part, easier. We did have a couple of shoots where they brought their kids with, so the kids just jumped on the bed. So our cleaning had to go through and do all those beds. But yeah, typically it's a completely different type of clean.
Yeah. What are some if someone is like thinking about potentially testing this out, like what kind of advice can you give people? Are there some things that you didn't realize that you kind of learned as you got into it?
I just, I don't know if there's anything specifically that we've learned since we've started. It's been pretty smooth. I just think for most people that are scared to do it, just give it a shot. I mean, it's free to list. You can meet them there on site. You can do a background check. I mean, all of that. And it's important to ask what rooms they're using and if they need anything that's specific. There are also add-ons that you can offer. So if somebody is having a corporate meeting at your house, we can offer catering services, things like that. So there's a lot of add-ons that I know people are really good at using. We will work on implementing that as time goes on. But I still feel like we're still a little bit new to Peerspace. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And we've had the founder of Peerspace on the podcast, but and they've been around for a while, but it takes a long time for these type of platforms to really get traction to where they where they're like, you know, well known. Like Airbnb, like I started in 2012. Airbnb was founded in 2007. So they've been around for 5 years. But I remember when I started on Airbnb and I was telling people about it, nobody knew what it was, you know, but they've been around, for 5 years already at the time.
Right, right. And I think that was shocking for me to talk to people who would be using those kind of spaces and they haven't heard of it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, like
Yeah.
the photographers.
Yeah.
And so I think that
Yeah.
that's key. And it opens up a whole nother business model, in my opinion. You know, when you're looking for properties to invest in, now my eyes, I'm looking at different things. I'm like, oh, wait, this could be really used on
Yeah.
Peerspace, this background or this backyard or this yoga studio. So it's a whole nother business.
Yeah. Is it to get bookings on Peerspace? Does it work kind of similar to as to Airbnb, where you need to have like a fast response rate and good reviews and things like that?
Yeah, it definitely has. You have to have a good response rate. The nice thing about Peerspace is, you know, there was talk, and I think they actually just started to link calendars together. We have not done that because with Peerspace, our bookings, if we get a request for a booking on Peerspace, we can always then look at our calendar on our PMS and say, okay, this is a good day of the week to do this. We don't have a booking here. This will work. They can't, at least I don't know that they can instantly book. So then we can go back to Peerspace and take a look and say, yeah, that'll work. And then we, you know, accept the booking and then block it on our calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember last time I spoke to them, they were talking about those calendars, right? To syncing those calendars, because that's obviously that's an important thing to make it more attractive for people, for Airbnb hosts to start using it. Because I don't know very many people who like just use Peerspace, right? It sounds like most hosts are using it the way that you're using it, right? To fill up certain gaps in your calendar. But that will be, you know, that will be a huge functionality improvement if they can actually match up those calendars. I want to go to. I remember you posted in our Slack community. You posted that you accidentally had like a back-to-back booking during the day, and I added up the numbers, and if I'm correct, like I think you ended up making $1,750 in one day.
Yeah, that was not intentional. That was kind of an oops. We did have a booking, and he was, I want to say, from 7 to 5 was the first booking, and we had that all coordinated. And we did get another request, and my VA, I think, was super excited and responded to that second one and said, yeah, we got it. So he actually accepted it. And then by the time I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? It was 7:30 to 5 and then a 5 to 8 p.m. booking. So I immediately reached out to the second group and just said, this is the situation. If you can give us a 30-minute, because he was actually doing a photo shoot. And if you can give us a 30-minute just so we can get in there, get everything, you know, make sure it's perfect for you guys. And he was super, super accommodating. It was no problem. So my team was actually basically on the street waiting for the first party to leave. And as they were bringing out their equipment, my team was racing in there and getting everything dialed in. And so it worked out. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it was a $1,800 oops. But it worked out. They both gave 5-star review. I mean, it was great. It worked. It was a little stressful, but yeah. So that's something to watch out.
Yeah.
For in the future. Do it again. We would just need a little bit more of a gap in between.
Yeah. I can imagine these. That's not ideal to have those
back
to back, but still, you could do 2 bookings in one day. Let's say you get like a 7 a.m. to until like 2 p.m. and then do like a 4 to 8 or something like that. Have you had that before?
We have. And then we have, like I said, a lot of times we have the commercials that are maybe a Friday 8 to 2, and then the next day is a 7 to 4 or something. So it's a 2-part series. And now what we're seeing is a lot of the guests that we have from Peerspace, now that they know our space so well, they're rebooking. So we've had
Nice.
quite a bit. Yeah, it's kind of cool to have repeat guests, and they know what they're going to, walking into. They know the space. They know what
Yeah.
they're going to use. Yeah.
Yeah. Repeat guests are so easy to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're happy already, because they've experienced it. So there's no
Yeah.
surprises. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also like, like they're there to do something professionally versus like a lot of the times our guests on Airbnb are there for vacation, right?
Right.
And maybe there's not a lot of room for error when it comes to the experience.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's like, let's say you go on holiday once a year or something, like, it kind
Exactly.
of has to be perfect because otherwise you kind of feel like, man, like that's disappointing, right? Versus, if you're doing a photo shoot and there's a small issue or something, like, I mean, they're professionals, they're dealing with issues all the time, right?
Right. Yeah. And they're there to go in, do their business, and get out. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 I can imagine that that's a big advantage for sure.
Yeah.
What are your plans like going forward with this? Is this something that you want to expand or continuously be doing in select properties, or do you think in the high season it's still more profitable to just focus on the overnight stays?
Yeah. I think that's a little up in the air. I think what we'll do is play it by ear, and
Hmm.
see what comes up. We are, like I said, hitting our busy season. So things are starting to book really quick, which I don't know, if somebody's looking on Peerspace to book our space, if we'll even have any
Hmm.
vacancies for those dates. So we'll just kind of wait and see. We will definitely stay on there. And we did just add one more luxury property that we just started managing that has a fantastic kitchen and backyard and and all of that. So we'll see what that one does as well. And again, the beauty of it is you get to see what the guest is required, like what the dates that they're looking at on Peerspace before accepting it. So they're not auto instant booking. So then we're
Hmm.
scrambling. So it's nice to be able to see that and then look at our calendar and say that makes sense or it
Hmm.
doesn't.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense.
I
Um,
would also find some really cool properties, unique spaces to kind of make a niche business with Peerspace as well.
yeah.
Um, with casitas and, like I said, yoga studios and things like that. So we're exploring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what I always think with these type of marketplaces, just like Airbnb, when you focus on it as one of the first adopters, there's a lot of opportunity, right? To get in
Yeah.
like before everybody else does. So I think that's a great idea of like thinking now, like, hey, what kind of spaces are in high demand on this platform, right? What's
Right.
needed in your marketplace, and maybe even talking to some investors of saying like, hey, we're gonna have a new business model that we're offering, because maybe some investors or maybe some property owners, maybe they like the idea that there's just like professional stuff going on in their house versus people staying overnight. So there
Mm-hmm.
might also be demand from homeowners and investors who might like that model as well. So yeah, it's definitely interesting development for
Yeah.
sure.
And typically our investors are all about the revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've had a couple of people say, yeah, I don't think I want that in my house. But our investor clients are like, bring it on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring it on. That's incredible revenue. And so they're super supportive. And so
Yeah.
that they're seeing the results, especially during the slow season. It's just a
Yeah.
great way to pivot and um, keep moving forward.
And by the way, you're in Phoenix. Like it seems like your high and low season are a bit different from most markets, right? Because the summer is not the high season for you, is it?
No, no, it's not. It's about 115 here in the summer.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So definitely slows down, but July was good. August was good. June was just a little bit odd for us. So that's where we just decided we've got to make some kind of pivot and see what happens. And that's when we jumped on Peerspace. And
Mm.
so maybe summer months will be great for, to really beef up our Peerspace
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, to wrap up this podcast, I would love to go back to what you said earlier you know, how you got into it. Like, it seems like you're kind of like an action taker versus somebody who thinks about things for a long time before doing something. Which I think is really good, because I feel like most people tend to get stuck into the analyzing and contemplating, you know,
Right.
especially when it comes to trying something new. So can you walk us through, like, what's your mindset behind that of just jumping into it right away?
I don't know if you want to call it impulsive, but yeah, I don't tend to do a whole lot of hemming and hawing. If I see something and it's coming from somebody that is obviously, I have a great deal of respect for you guys. And when you sent that email, I thought, gosh, they're putting this out there. I'm going to read about it, and we just jumped in on it. I'm not somebody that does a whole lot of hemming and hawing.
Mm,
Just dive in, because if you don't dive in, you won't ever do it. And you'll
yeah.
find a million other excuses of why you can't do it.
Mm,
I'd rather just jump in and then figure it out as we go.
yeah.
I don't know if
Is it,
that's the best way to do things, but it seems to be working, at least for this business.
yeah. Is that something that you've always done, like kind of jumping into things, or is that something that you kind of learned throughout your life?
No, I think I've pretty much always been a little, when I get my mind set on something, I'm just going to do it
Yeah.
and then figure it out as we go. Yeah, no, I think
Right.
it's always been me. Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. It was super cool to hear your story. And any final thoughts, and let people know how they can find you if they want to work with you, or maybe want to stay in Phoenix sometime.
Yeah, for sure. So we are, you can find us at phoenixstays.com, and that's PHX Phoenix. Yeah, we have 16 properties, some luxury, some condos, and we're about to hit peak season. So we would love to host any guest. And then we also have our management company that we do full service concierge. We call it a boutique type management company, just because we like to keep things not so much about quantity, but quality.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can find us at phoenixstays.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jackie. I'm excited to see how this Peerspace journey evolves with you. And yeah, I'll see you around in the Rising Stars Mastermind.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasper.
You got it. And thanks everybody for listening. Of course, Eric and I will be back on Friday with another episode. So we'll see you then.